So hello everyone, welcome to week 9. In today's recitation, we are going to just look up to the concepts of JavaScript loops and arrays. And I hope like you were able to work on your previous week's assignment consisting of the topics of JavaScript functions. Let me just quickly just give you the overview in our Canvas homepage over here. I think the previous assignment was number 8 and this number 7 event-driven programming approach, right? So here in today's recitation, we are going to look up to the concepts of arrays and loops. And if you want to find more information related to this topic, you can, of course, take reference from our fluency textbooks consisting of the topics, which is on chapter number 20. So let's just quickly get started with our today's recitation. And yeah, so first things first, again, before understanding the terminology of what are arrays, like always, let's just quickly understand its definition and the application that why do we need arrays, right? So for example, over here, you guys can see in front of your screen that an array is a single variable used to store multiple values, right? And it's like a list that can hold more than one item at one time. So for example, over here, if I just have to show you the demonstration, let's say we have a list of car items, and I ask you that you have to create or store different kind of car names or brands inside a variable. So one way would be like, of course, you guys can create 3 different variables. Let's say where car1 equals to the name, or let's say the brand, I say Tesla, where car3 or car2 equals to, let's say, Honda, right? And let's say one more, let's car3 equals to, let's say Toyota, right? So in this way, you can store the names of the 3 brands of the cars, like in 3 different variables, like, but this is like when the requirement is only for 3 brands, right? What if I ask you to store 300 different car names? So for that, will you create 300 different variable names? That doesn't make sense at all, right? So for that purpose, in order to just improvise and improvise the storing capacity in our computer systems, we have something called as arrays. And with the help of arrays, we can store multiple values inside only one single variable. We did not have to create different variables, right? So that's the application and scope of arrays, and like just the definition you can see over here. We'll just look at how we can define our array or create an array, right? There's like a simple definition over here, which you guys can see in front of your screen. Let's say over here, like I'm using the keyword let. Of course, you can use the where keyword depending on the scope or the requirement. So I can write something like this. For example, let's just take the reference from here. For example, our W3 schools website. So over here, let's say this is the array, creation of an array, and the name of that array is cars over here, right? So I say where cars equals to new array. New array is just simply a constructor which we are using, and it's just a way how we create an array, right? So the variable cars will hold all these 3 values of different kind of brand names of the cars, right? Saab, Volvo, BMW, right? And when I just simply print the variable cars over here, like while document.getElementId, I'm just simply putting the value of cars variable. So it will just output with the list of all the items which is present inside this array called cars, right? This is how just it looks like. For example, I can just change the values. It will just automatically take in those values and output it accordingly, right? So here, for example, one more thing. Can we store different values of consisting of different data types, or the data type of the values in the array should be same? Just think of it. For example, over here, can I write 10, like any value? Let's say 10, 23, and I click on run. So it's showing me the value, right? So again, in array, I can store like multiple values of having different kind of data types, right? It's not necessary that all the values should have the same data type. Like, okay, we can have strings, we can have numbers. I can also have floating, like let's say true, right? Boolean types, right? So this thing works like in case of arrays. Further, in our arrays, of course, yeah, I can create the arrays with the help of this new keyword, which by using this constructor over here, or else I can just simply directly create arrays with the help of this syntax called as, and in this, we just simply create the variable and just put all the array elements inside the square brackets over here, just like it's just how we implement it. This is the syntax of the creation and initializing of the values in the array, right? So that's how this thing works. Yeah, one more thing which I wanted to cover for the arrays is like, just consider it how it's going to be stored inside the memory in our computer. So let's say you have an array and the size of that array is 5. Let's say you have an array over here. Just give me a moment. Awesome. Over here, let's say I'm declaring an array and the name of the array is ARR, let's say. And let's say I have 5 elements in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Over here. So all these 5 elements would be present inside the array ARR, but they would be present inside like in the form of partitions, right? They would be having different kind of sections, and each section or each partition would be having a particular value, which is called as the index value. We call it indices or the index value, right? So this is something which is important while taking into consideration when we are implementing arrays, right? So the first element inside our array would be having an index value of 0. The second element would be having an index value of 1. And third value, index value of 2, our third value. The fourth value would be having an index value 3. And the last element, right, which is the fifth one, that would be having an index value of 4, right? So the indices, we are going to look into the tasks which we are going to perform today, but this is very important, which comes with the arrays, that we are like, with the help of indices, we would be able to access the array elements, right? So for that purpose, indices are very much important. Note that like indices always starts from 0, right? And ends like, let's say the size of the array is 5. Over here, the size is 5. So the last element or the last value of our index would be size minus 1, right? It's 4 over here, right? And so again, over here, let's say if I want to access any element of the array, I can write it as ARR, and in the bracket, I can write it as ARR, let's say 2, right? So the 2 here is the index value, right? So what I'm saying over here, that, hey, I want to grab the value from the array ARR, which is having an index value of 2. So now over here, our index value 2 is over here, and it's for the element, third element, right, which is having a value 3. So the result or the output for this JavaScript performation would be 3, right? Similarly, we can just grab any value present inside the array with the help of index, right? So index values are used for those purpose. Over here, you can just see in the diagram, which shows that it's just like contiguous block in a memory having different kind of partitions in it, right? And it just starts from 0. That's it. And this is the array length, or we can call it an array size, right? Okay, so that's for the arrays. I think that's just the basics which we just require to just move ahead into this recitation. We are gonna work on a task wherein we are gonna implement the arrays concepts and the loops, of course, which we are gonna learn it in a while. And we'll just see like what all things we are gonna merge. Also, like, we are gonna implement functions which we learned in last week's recitation. So I think this recitation is gonna be between 1 hour to 1.5 hours for sure, because like the topic is lengthy, and I'll try my best to cover everything like within time. But yeah, let's see, like, just make sure like it's gonna be like for sure more than 1 hour. And I would again strongly suggest everyone to just implement all the things which we are doing with me simultaneously in your code editor, so that you would be able to get the hands-on implementation and grab a better understanding on what things we are performing, right? Okay, so that's about the creation of arrays, and let's just look about loops right over here. So what is a loop? So over here, the definition says that a loop is a way to repeatedly execute a block of code as long as specified condition is true. Okay, And it says that while there are different types of loops, such as for, while, and do while, we will focus on for loops. So the scope of this recitation is like we are just going to focus on for loop, which is a type of a loop. But in general, if we just want to understand a loop is something with the help of which we can iterate the items which are iterable. For example, let's consider arrays. With the help of we have this array over here, right? Where ARR. What if I just simply, let's say I just simply print this array, right? It will just give me the output in the form of a list, and it will just throw all the elements which are present inside the arrays, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Makes sense. But let's say if I ask you guys that I want all the elements one by one after another, right? Of course, you can just like how can you get that particular output? Or let's say I ask you guys to write a program in JavaScript to print odd numbers from 1 to 10, for example, right? So in this way, how you're gonna, of course, you cannot just print all the numbers, right? Because let's say if I just increase the range and write 1 to 1000 maybe, so there should be some kind of way or method. And right, for this purpose, there's something called as loops. Loops are very much helpful to just iterate to the items present, or we can just create our own range and everything else. It has something called as a starting point and ending point, which we are going to look ahead right now. So before, like say over here, we have the basic syntax in JavaScript, how we can just define or create a loop, specifically this for loop, right? So here we have a for loop. Over here, there's a keyword again, like if and else blocks, which we learned in the previous recitations. There we had a keyword called as if, right? For else, we have a keyword called else, right? Same thing for the for loop, we have a reserved keyword in JavaScript which says for. Okay, and in the parentheses over here, there are 3 parts included. So first part over here, notice in the diagram over here, this is the keyword, and in the parentheses we have something called as the first part is initialization, the second part is the condition, and the third part is the updater. We'll just see and look into detail about all the 3 parts. So the first part is basically like a starting point where you want to start your loop from, right? And the second one is the condition. We can also consider it like the ending part, like till when we want our loop to be to be continued, right? We want to run our loop from start point A to end point B, right? So for that, we need some kind of condition, right? And the third part is the updater over here, which is I++. We can consider it like a step size. Now, like if you're not aware of the term step size, just call it like a way, like how you wanna proceed in the loop once you have the starting point and the ending point. But there should be some kind of a movement, like for example, how you want to move inside the loop. Like for example, over here, the I value is 0, right? And it says I less than 10. But after each and every increment over here, there's some kind of increment going on. So I++ simply means I equal to I+1. So I'm saying that after 0, the next value of my I should be 1. And after 1, again, just update and increment the value of I to 2, right? So in this way, we can just give any kind of increment or the step size accordingly. For example, over here, in this scenario, wherein we just want to print the odd numbers from, let's say, 1 to 10, right? So there, I'll just make a small change in my updater function. Of course, the step size here would be, the starting point would be I equals to 1, right? Makes sense? 1 is an odd number. I want to start from 1 to 10, right? So 1. But the ending point, of course, the last odd number is 9. The ending point should be 9. But I can write something like I less than equals to 10, because 10 here is not inclusive, it's exclusive, right? So I less than 10, 10 is exclusive. So it just basically means it will just go till 9. And of course, it will match the condition because 9 is an odd number, right? But the third one, so here the step size would be I equal to I+2, because let's say in our loop, let's say if I were to implement a for loop to just print the odd numbers, when I equal to 0, not I equal to 0, I equal to 1, because my starting or the initializing point over here is I equals to 1, right? So it will check and see that, okay, whether 1 is an odd number or not. Okay, If it's an odd number, again, of course, I'll just print this. But after this, when I'm checking this condition, I is less than 10, 1 is less than 10, 1 is less than 10, true or false? True, right? And then it will just simply print the number 1. Next, I equals to 2, right? No, not I equals to 2, I equals to 3, because my step size over here, the updater function says I equals to I plus 2. So over here, I equals to I plus 2, and the I value is 1. So 1 plus 2, 3. So my next value of I is 3. And I simply want to check that, okay, now is 3 less than 10? Yes or no? If it's true, then I want the number to be simply outputted like or displayed in the browser. Okay, then simply print the number. In this way, over here, I'm just printing the number 1. Over here, I'm just printing the number 3, and so on and so forth. Over here, at the end, I'll be getting the number 9. Over here, let's say I have a number 9, and then if the I value after 9, the I value would be 11, right? I plus 2. So then if I check with this condition, is 11 less than 10, and the condition becomes false, right? So it will not go inside the loop, and then the program is ended, the loop is ended. In this way, we are able to get all the odd numbers from 1 to 10, right? With the help of just a for loop. So this is just the practical implementation. And I just wanted to give you the overall gist and the internal working, how these three things together, the initialization, the condition, and the updater parts work together inside the for loop. Of course, like, don't worry much if you are not able to get it in detail. We're going to work on the task. Therein, I'm just going to explain you properly. But this was just the wholesome overview of how loops and arrays work, right? And like, yeah, this is just the basic syntax of a for loop. That's it. You need not have to know more about this stuff. It's fine. So I think we can just directly jump to our task for today into our VS Code editor. So let's just do that. And in the meanwhile, I would just suggest you to just open up the file which I've shared with you guys inside my, let's go to files, and over here, like always, just go to the 00_ recitation information folder. This is the folder, and inside this folder, there's a folder of my own name over here. Just click on recitation9, and inside this, there's a file called initial.html. This one, recitation9 array basics initial HTML, right? Just download this file and just try to work simultaneously along with me, right? So yeah, so this is the file which we have. First things first, let's just look at the output. How does this look like, right? So this is the output of that particular file. So here, let me just give you the overview of what we are going to perform or do in these tasks. So we are going to use arrays, functions, and loops, and come up with some kind of insights. For example, we are going to do the array creation, right? So over here, let's say in our code, I'm creating 2 different arrays, right? So this is the creation of 2 different arrays. We have 2 arrays. The array names are like first array is names, and the second one is the books. So of course, like, I've tried my best to just write the comments wherever it's necessary, and I would suggest, of course, the same to you. Just feel free to add comments wherever you guys feel necessary, right? So here it says creates array of names, creates array of 2-digit integers. Okay. So over here, simply there's an array which just consists of different names of the people, right? Joey, Mary, Tom, Mark, Dave, etc. So, okay, this is just a simple array which consists of the names. What next? Over here, there's an array called books. Okay, again, notice that I've created the array with the help of a new array method, right? With the help of this constructor, right? So just note that thing. In this array, what I'm saying that, okay, where books equal to new array of 10. Now, what exactly this means? So this means that I'm not putting any kind of values inside this array, but I'm just initializing with some kind of size. the 10 over here, it's just the size of the array, which I would just want to mention it. So it says this line declares a variable named books and initializes it with a new array of size 10. Okay. In JavaScript, of course, you can create an array with the help of the new array constructor, which we just saw over here, specifying the desired length of the array. Okay, so over here, what happens is that the books array will be empty, but it will have 10 different partitions in it, right? And later we can just put different values to just fill out those partitions. So right now it's just empty. However, it's important to note that the books array will initially be empty, containing 10 undefined elements, just to know that, right? So we have just created two different arrays. One is names and the other one is books. Now, our goal for this task is to just print out the elements which are present in the arrays with the help of for loops, and to just do or perform some kind of other operations such as reversing the elements, right, of the arrays, right, and to take out the average names. For example, over here in the books array which we have created, which is of size 10, I want some kind of 2-digit elements present inside the books array. Like for example, the books array can have elements, something called as, let's say, 23, 12, 43, 28, and 32, 61, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16, 19, 24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, more 2. 33, and what else? Let's say 14. Okay, cool. So these are just 2-digit numbers, and the size of this array is 10, let's say, for example. So what actually we want to do is, if we have this names array over here, I'm just doing it for you guys to just grab a better understanding, right? Oh, damn. Okay, cool. That's fine. So over here, what do I mean from this is that the books array, the first element is 23, right? And in the names array, the first element is Joy. So we mean that Joy is a person, is the owner of books, and the number of books Joy has is 23. Similarly for Mary, Mary has 12 books. Tom has 43 books over here, right? It's just like matching, right? There are 10 elements over here, there are 10 elements over here. So it's equivalent. Mark has 1, 2, 3, 4. Mark has 28 books, right? It's just same over here. If you want, I can just write it just below the names. So it's easier to just visualize it, right? Cool, makes sense. So Joey 23, if you think about Jen, he has 19 books. Andrew 24, Dana has 33 books, right? So this is just the creation of arrays and the values which they hold, right? So over here, once I define the array with a size 10, I want this out, like this is something hard coded. I don't want the values to be hard coded from the user, by the user, right? I want it to be computed or uh, uh, calculated with the help of for loop, and every time the value should change. It should not be the same, right? So for that, we have this for loop over here. Now let's just understand this for loop, what it's exactly doing, right? So I say, like always, let's just understand it by part. So the for loop over here, our three conditions, right? The first one is the initialization, which says where I equal to 0. Okay, this is the starting point of our for loop. Okay, and over here again, note that we have the indices, right? Index values. Awesome. So here, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The last index value is 9 because we have 10 elements, right? So over here, I want to start it from 0. So my starting point of the for loop should be 0. Okay, till when? What's the condition? I want to run my for loop till I less than equal to 10. Okay, over here, the last value of I is 9. So I just want to run it till I equal to 9 or less than 10. Or I can even write it as less than equal to 9. Both means same, right? Let's just write 10 for now. This is the updater. I want to go or the step size as 1, right? Because over here, let's say after I equal to 0, I want to jump to my next element and say where the I value is 1, right? Similarly, after that, I want to jump to the next element where the I value is 2, and so on and so forth. Like, I don't want to skip any kind of elements in between. I want to consider them all. So for that, I'll just simply write it as I plus plus, which just means I equal to I plus 1, right? So, okay, this is what we understand from the for loop declaration by considering all the 3 different parts. Let's just come inside our for loop. Again, note the syntax. After the parenthesis, we write our declaration or definition of the loop inside the curly braces over here, right? Which you can see. Just don't forget the curly braces. So inside the for loop, we say that there's a variable called rand, and inside that variable, we use something called as math.floor. Okay, just ignore that for now. We have something called as math.random. Now, what does math.random do? So for example, over here, in the comments, I've written that this function generates a random decimal number from 0 to 1, where 0 is inclusive and 1 is exclusive. Okay, so let's say we got a number generated, which is random as 0.25, for example. And then I say that multiply that number by 90. Okay, why do we do that? So this multiplies the random number by 90, producing a random decimal number in the range of 0 to 90, right? Where 0 is inclusive and 90 is exclusive, because we want a two-digit number, right? So let's say you take any number. Let's say I have a number 0.25 and I multiply by 90. So the result is, let me just write it over here, 0.25, and I multiply by 90. The result should be 22.5. You guys can just check in your calculator. And let's say you take any small number, let's say 0.1 multiply by 90, and the third case 0.9 multiply by 90, right? So for the second case of 0.1, the value should be 9. 0.1, yeah, the value should be 9, right? And for the third case, for 0.9, the value should be 81. Notice that we want only two-digit numbers to be present inside our array called books, right? So over here, 9 is not a two-digit number, right? So once we are done multiplying the number by 90, we want to shift the range by 10, because 9 over here, notice that if I just consider a number 0.1, which is generated with the help of this math.random function, like it will just give me an output as a 9. We want to just shift the range. So for that, we said, okay, once I'm done computing this part, just add a number 10 to that. Why number 10? So just read this line. It says, finally, 10 is added to the result, shifting the range to 10,99. Earlier, the range was 0,90, wherein 0 was inclusive because the number can be a 0 also, right? And over here, because the number can be 0, the number generated with the help of math.random number, it can be a 0 also, right? So let's just consider this last case as 0. So 0 multiplied by 90, again, I'll get it as 0, right? So in order to just avoid this scenario, we are adding a number 10 to just completely shift the range. So let's say I'll just add the number 10. So now I have the end result, the number as a 10. So it is a 2-digit number, and the starting point of a 2-digit number is a number 10, right? So it says the range from 10, 99, both inclusive. So even if you just take this number, 81 plus 10, it will just give the number as 91. Again, it will be less than 99 for sure, no matter if you take any number, right? Between 0 to 1. Again, 1 is exclusive, right? So this is just about what exactly happening in this line, wherein you wanna put the numbers which are 2 digits in nature, from 10 to 99, right? And then we say that, okay, books bracket I equals to rent. What are we doing exactly over here? Notice that in the example which we discussed over here, I mentioned that how you guys can access array, right, with the help of index, right? So exactly the I value over here, which we are traversing through, what exactly the I value is? The I value is the index value, right? I equals to 0 to less than I equals to 10. So we are saying that, hey, in my for loop, I just want to traverse through my array, which is the books in this case, and that traversing is done with on the index values. So over here, when I say that books of I, let's say, for example, let's just run this loop and just understand it step by step. So where I equals to 0, currently I am at my index position 0. I is less than 10, it will just check the condition. Okay, 0 is less than 10. Okay, no worries. And then it will just go inside this loop after this checking of the condition, and it will just perform this operation, and it will say, okay, books of I, meaning books of 0 over here, books of 0 equals to rand, whatever value is present inside the way. Okay, one more thing which we just forgot. Math.floor is just to just take out the decimal point and to just make the number whole, right, over here. This takes the floor of the previous result, converting the decimal number to a whole number. That's it. So let's say we got the number as the end result for this part as let's say 72, for example. So the 72 number would get stored inside books of 0. Now books of 0, where 0 is the index value, books of 0 over here would get stored inside the books array, which is currently empty. We just have defined the size, but right. So we said, okay, now earlier, let's say it was empty, right? Just empty, no values, no values, undefined element, right? No values. And like same thing for everyone, everything else. Now I say that, okay, just put the value 72 inside the index location of 0. Okay, so we put 72 inside our array. Okay, now what next? After this part, our for loop will go to this updater condition, updater function. It says I plus plus 1. So I said, okay, now let's just increase the value of I from 0 to 1. So go to this index location over here, right? And now let's again go into the for loop. But before that, over here, check the condition. Is 1 less than 10? Yes, then only it will allow to go inside the for loop. Again, do the same stuff over here. And let's say now the value is 34, let's say. So you put the value 34 inside the I value, current I value, which is 1, right? Over here, books of 1. So over here, you would append the value 34. And so while repeating the same procedure over here, with the help of the for loop, we are able to append or insert the elements, the 2-digit numbers in the arrays of called books, right? So in this way, we would be able to get the elements and for the array, right? By implementing this for loop. So I think, yeah, this is how it works as a for loop. But I think, yeah, we have pretty much covered what exactly this for loop does, right? So let's just see that, okay, now once I'm having the elements present inside my arrays, both the arrays, books and the names, how am I supposed to perform different kind of tasks related to it? So for example, over here, we have something called as traverse array in order, right? So it just means that we want to just put the output the values which are present inside the arrays. So first things first is traversing books owned in order. Okay, so we just want to put everything which is present inside the books array. Second task is to just put everything or traverse the names array, the names of the authors or the owners of the books. Okay, so I think these two tasks are very much easy, and we would be requiring a for loop for that, of course, which we just saw it in like a couple of minutes ago, that how we can use the for loop to just print out or display the elements of an array, right? Okay, but for the next two tasks over here, it says that traversing array in reverse order. So how we can do that, that we'll just see in a while. But over here, let's just understand and just try to solve this thing first, right? That how can we just traverse the array? So for example, over here, if I just go and scroll above over here, I have different kind of functions. So for example, the function called print array says that prints the array values in order. So in this file, we have created different kind of functions, and accordingly to the functionality which we want to implement, we'll just call the necessary functions. So in this way, we are able to merge and cover the understanding of functions too, right? So which is a good thing for you guys to just practice hands-on, like covering all the three topics of JavaScript, right? So over here, again, of course, like you guys would be able to know the definition or how we can create the function, right? We have this keyword function. I'm saying that, okay, just create a function whose name is print array, and it's taking a parameter, right? This is the parameter a, which is taking inside it. And over here, of course, you guys have to write the function definition, like what you guys want this function to perform, right? So let's say my job or my requirement for this function is to just simply print out the array elements for any array which I'm going to pass to this function via a parameter called a, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is, again, just try working simultaneously with me for this function, because I mean, it would then help you to just grab a better understanding, right? So for example, I'll just implement a for loop, and I can write something like, okay, I want my starting point and ending point of the for loop from, okay, let's see, where I equals to 0. Make sense? What next? Don't forget to put this semicolons, right? To just separate all the three parts inside the parentheses of the for loop. I want the condition, the next part is the condition, right? Or the ending point till when I want to run. So can I write, okay, can I write something like this? 10. Make sense? Or no? Yes, right? But instead of this, can I write something like this? Again, a dot length is like, again, let's just quickly see this method, right? What does a dot length do? So this, we have this array called names, right? If I write names dot length, it will just simply output me the number of elements present inside the array called names. That's it, just the size of or the length of the array, as the name suggests. So here, of course, the length is 10, right? We have 10 elements present inside our element inside the array, right? Just 10. So rather than writing the number in a hard-coded manner as like 10, can I write something like a dot length, right? Which is a good practice, because let's say in your future the array elements or the size of the array changes, right? So you need not have to just change every time in your for loop from 10 to, let's say, if it changes to 12. So you do not have to change it here every time. It will just like stay same, right? Because the a dot length method will give you the necessary equivalent value for the length, right? So That's the second part. And again, the third part is the updater, wherein I want to say that, okay, I just want my values to be traversed, need not skip any kind of element, I equal to I plus 1. That's it, right? So that's how my for loop looks like. And inside the for loop, I just want to say that, okay, now I just want to output the values which are present inside my for loop. So I can say that document.write. And again, how can I access each and every individual element? By a bracket I, right? A index location 0, a of 1, a of 2, right? And then to just make it look good, I can say something. This is a concatenating operator, the plus sign. It will just simply append a space after the element which I'm gonna display it, right? That's it. That's how it looks. So for example, over here, now, if I've created the function, right? So it should work, right? In the output, let's just see how is it displaying the values. It's not displaying anything over here, right? Now, notice that we missed one thing, which I want you guys to just pause this video and think of, right? What did we just missed? Because we created the function over here, right? For those who were able to guess it, that we forgot to actually call the function, because like just creating the function, it's not enough, right? We need to call the function in order to invoke it, right? So here, I'm going to say something like, okay, call the function print array and pass the array called names or books. Names, because over here we want to, okay, books. Traversing books owned in order. So we'll just pass the array called books. That's it. I've just called this array over here, or this function, right? Now let me just save the code and okay, boom. So over here, we have the list of the items which are present inside the array called books, right? So in this way, we just created the function over here. For example, now I just want the same implementation over here, and I want my elements present inside the array called names to be displayed. I can simply again call the function print array, and I can just simply pass the array called names, right? Same thing. And I'll just give you the reason why function creation is important, right? Same thing over here. See, Joe, Mary, Tom, Mark, Dave, right? So what we just did over here, that we just created one function, and the name of function is print array, and we used it twice, more than once, right? So because of that, of course, like functions are very much helpful and it makes our lives very much easy, that we just have to create it once and we can just use it as many times we want. We need not have to just create the same functionality again and again for different kind of purposes. For example, over here, we just see that I just wanted to display the elements for the books and the names array, right? So we just directly call the function, just one function. And of course, the parameter over here, just the parameter changes while just passing to the function, right? So that's the thing which we just wanted to do with the help of functions, loops, and arrays, right? So I think this is something which will help you to understand. But over here, let's say if I want to just print the elements, the same elements over here in a reverse order. Again, before going to the reverse order thing, notice that over here inside our books array, we were appending or inserting the 2-digit number values with the help of a for loop by using the random generator, right? Math.random function, right? So these values should not be the same, right? It would just, of course, change whenever the user reloads the browser, right? So let's just see like what happens if I just reload the browser. Did you see that the values are changing again, right? So this way, the values are not consistent and it's changing whenever the user just reloads the browser. Of course, you guys would not be able to get the same values just like what I have currently, because the random number generates any random values, right? So this simply means that Joy has 20 books, Mary has 86 books. That's it, right? So let's just quickly see how we want to just perform the reverse operation for both of our arrays. I would just give you the explanation for one of the arrays, and you guys would be working on the implementation for the other array element, right? So over here, again, there's a function. Again, we are just going to work everything with the help of functions, and we are just going to call that particular function again wherever we need its requirement, right? So we have this function called print reverse, right? Same thing. We gotta just put our code logic over here. So same thing. Let me just simply copy paste this whole same thing, but we would be changing the stuff which is present inside this parenthesis bracket, right? So while reversing the element, before going to the explanation or the coding part, just want to show you guys that, okay, just give me a moment. Okay, awesome. Let's say in our books array, we have so and so elements present. Okay. All these 10 elements, just 2-digit numbers, and I want to output them, but in a reverse order. So that means I want to output in such form, right? 12, 94, 17, 96, 22, and so on and so forth. The last element would be 38. Make sense? So for that, how we are going to do that with the help of for loop? So usually what we used to do is that the starting point of our for loop would be this, right? 38, because I equals to 0. Again, index value, right? Just index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, like I'm just doing this again to make you guys understand in a better way, because I don't have any kind of because in asynchronous it becomes difficult to just show you the proper implementation, how things are working. If I have a board or pen, maybe it would become more easier, but here still I'm just trying my best to just make you guys understand how it's happening like internally, right? So again, the index values are 7, 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? And the last one is the 9th element. So here we used to start our for loop from I equal to 0 and end it till I less than 10, or let's say I equal to 9, right? But now the case is something different. We want to output the elements in a reverse order, which means that I want to start my for loop from here, this particular element having an index of 9, right? So in our for loop over here, while writing the logic or when we are creating the for loop, can I say something like this, that I, the starting point of the I element, should be a dot length minus 1. Just think of it. What is actually a dot length? A dot length, the value is 10, right? There are 10 elements present inside our array called books, but I've also written minus 1. So a dot length minus 1, let's say over here, books dot length minus 1. Books dot length minus 1 gives me the value of 9, right? Because 10 minus 1 equals to 9. Make sense? Make sense, right? So here, same thing over here, a dot length minus 1, which is I equal to 9. So I want to start my array or the starting point as I equals to 9 index location, which gives me the value of 12, which is the last value present inside our array, right? Okay, what next? The condition. So that would be something like I greater than equal to 0. And let's just come to the updater part later. But why I greater than equal to 0? Because again, earlier we used to do something like I less than 10, or over here we wrote I less than a dot length, right? So this thing, of course, would be will be something different. Now let's just understand why I greater than equal to 0. So again, while traversing or displaying the list items of our array in a reverse order over here, it would go from 9, 8, 7, 6, right? For 9 index, it will output the value 12. For 8, it will output the value 94, and so on and so forth. Let's come here. Let's say we are here for I equal to 0. That's the last element. It will just output the value 38. But in our for loop, let's say the third part, the updater part, it's I minus minus, because we want to go in a reverse order, like not in the increasing. So this is the decrement operator. We say I equal to I minus 1, right? Where the first value of I is 9. After that, I equal to I minus 1. 9 minus 1, 8. Okay, 8 minus 1, 7. And so on and so forth. Again, when we reach to the I value of 0, it will simply check the condition that I is greater than equal to 0. Okay, it will allow. But what happens after that is the after 0, like once we are done outputting the value 38, it will simply decrement or decrease the value of I, right? From I equal to 0 to 0 minus 1, which is minus 1 technically, right? So for minus 1, again, it will just check this condition before going into the for loop, that is minus 1 greater than equal to 0. Is, I'm just writing again, is minus 1 greater than equal to 0? False, right? Of course, minus 1 is less than 0. So this will not satisfy. So it will not come inside the for loop and the loop will break, right? So for that purpose, we write something as I equal to greater than equal to 0 in order to just match the condition. Again, not I equal to greater than 0, but greater than equal to 0, because our last element over here, which we want to display in the reverse order, is 38, and that is having an index location called 0. So we want to take into consideration that particular case also. And for that, we are writing I equal to greater than equal to 0, right? Make sense? So I think in this way, let's say if I just print the options, it should work and print the array list items in a reversed order, right? So let me just again comment it out, the stuff. We of course need to call the function, right? So I'll just call the function over here, print reverse, right? I'll just pass the books we want to, yeah. And again, for this, I'll just pass the names. That's it. We are done. I'll just save the file. Let's just look at the output. Okay, it's working, right? It's just printing the elements of the books array in a reverse order: 67, 44, 60, 56, 21. Just cross check it over here, right? It's fine. Same with the names of the owners of the books for the names array over here: Paul, Dana, Andrew, Jen, Eric, Dave, Mark, everything, right? So it's working fine. In this way, we are able to use the functions for the functionalities of reversing the array or just outputting the array elements in a normal order. And what next? We have two more stuff to just look at for like, one is the finding the average value and the other is finding the largest index, right? So for that, I'll just quickly like give you the hint, or like what can we do, right? So let me just copy and paste the functionality into this. Currently, this function is returning 0. It's not like returning anything, right? So here, I say that I have this code logic over here to calculate the average, and code logic for the to return the largest position. Okay, awesome. And now let me just call this find average function over here. Largest. Okay. Oh, assign the variable average to the result calling it, right? Okay, cool. Books. Makes sense. So we have some kind of average. It says 50, right? And same thing over here, if you want to just output the largest number, right? So it has the name saying replace the 0 with the function having the books array passed in it, and it will just say that, okay, after that, replace the 0 for the function. Okay, with person who has most books, person is in the where position. Okay. So names, I would say, okay, for the names array, and I would just write it as where. Okay. Makes sense. And the largest, largest of ARR of where. Okay, the ARR of where for the largest of where. Names of where and ARR books of where. Right. So we are getting the average, but not for the largest index, which says books of where and names of where. Find largest index. Okay. Let me just look at the code. Mm, So we are saying that, okay, I'm calling the function called find average, and I'm just passing the array called books. It's just giving me the values perfectly fine for the average one. And for the largest index, what we are doing here is that let's just look at the function definition first. So we're just taking an array and we're saying that, okay, there's a variable called large, and inside that, I'm just first things first, I'm just assuming that my first element inside that array is the largest one. This is just our assumption over here. Let me write it as, for example, assumption, right? Again, there's a variable called large position and equals to 0. Again, I'm just implementing a for loop inside this function. I'm just traversing through the array, and I'm just checking that, okay, whether according to my assumption that my first element is the largest element, is it really true or not? If it's not true, then just let's say, for example, over here, it's just comparing that ARR of I, right? It's not it. Oh, I got my issue. It's books and not ARR, because the different kind of variables are used for that purpose, right? So let's just quickly switch wherever we can see ARR to books. Same thing here, books, books, books. Yeah, that should be working fine. ARR. Do we have ARR? No results. Okay, cool. Books. Awesome. A dot length. If error of I. Okay, so here I'm saying that if my first element is greater than the first element which have assumed of course, this will not satisfy, right? So I'll just go to the next element. So in books of I, the first element is greater than large. Of course, then our assumption is true, but it will just take the next element and it assume that, okay, so if it's not greater than, then just take that element as a large for now. And it will just repeat this pattern and traverse to this whole for loop according to this if condition inside it. And with the help of that, we would be able to get our largest element, which is present inside the array of books. But uh, there's something called as large position over here, which you guys can see. We are not just like just calculating the largest element is not sufficient. We need something called as large position. Why? So for example, over here inside our array, we have books and names, right? So let's say if I just tell you guys that Joy has 72 books, right? Mary owns 34 books. Let's say I want to identify the highest number of books owned by a person. Again, I repeat, I want to identify the highest number of books owned by a person. How am I supposed to find that? So for that, first things first, I need to find the total number of books, the highest value out of those, right? So the highest value is 72, for example. So inside this array, of course, we can do that by just implementing the stuff over here. But I'm just trying to explain you why there's a need of the large position variable, wherein we are just tracking the index value for that particular highest value, right? So for that purpose, let's say I have the result as Joy, which is the highest value. Joy has the highest number of books. But then how we need to just find that Joy has the highest number of books, right? We are till this moment, we were just able to find the highest value in the books array. But notice that again, all these things are equivalent to each other, right? First index value is equivalent to the first index value of the names array because the array size is same. And that's the assumption of our task for today, right? So once I'm able to get the actual value of my books array, and if I have the index value for that, can I able to just fetch the name owner name from the names array? Make sense? So for example, I got the result as 72, which is the highest value for the names array. And also I'm able to get the index value for it, which is 0. So now I have the index value for this thing, books of 0 equals to 72. Make sense? Now my question is that find the owner who owns the largest amount of books. So can I simply say that, okay, just pass into the same index to the names array, and the output which we will get is Joy. Make sense? If we don't have the index value, then it becomes difficult and we would not be able to just find it with the help of just having that information, right? So for that purpose, over here inside our function called find largest index, we are also trying to calculate or keep track of the position, the index position, along with the value of the highest number of books, right? So because of that reason, we would be able to come and solve the question of the owner who owns the highest number of books, right? So here, if I just have to show you the output, we have this one more file, but which I'm not going to share with you because you guys have the work which I'm doing simultaneously with me, right? So again, like earlier, I just suggest you guys work along simultaneously with me because this is the code which you guys have. So there's this file. This is the final version of this output, wherein we are getting this output, right? It says that, okay, these are the list of the items or the number of books owned in order. These are the reversed order. These are the persons who are owning the books accordingly. Joy owns 13, Mary owns 72. And out of this list, the highest number of books is 95, right? Make sense? Yeah, 95. So the average number of books owned is 60.1. That's fine. But the largest number of books owned is 95. And we want to say or output that who owns that highest number of books. It says Tom owns the most books, right? But how we are supposed to get to know that who owns, right? So for that, we use the index value of this books array, and we just implement it and use that same index value and put it in the names array to just get or fetch the name value out of it, right? So over here, Tom is the third value, right? Same thing. 95 here is the third value. Both have the same index value. So with the help of that, we were able to get the output, right? And this is something extra which you guys can try if you want that. Try doing the implementation of a bar graph display, which has something like this. Let's say over here, uh, it just displays the books owned by each person. Let's say Joy. So it just displays Joy owns 13 books, and you'll just output uh, 13 stars to just show that Joy has 13 books. Similar with Mary, Mary owns 72 books, so you would just display 72 stars. Again, the star logic, of course, you would display with the help of for loops, right? For loops, and for all the names, the values, everything remains to be the same. But for the star part, of course, you would just implement a for loop, and I would love to see if you guys are able to do this thing as well. Let me know like if you guys face any kind of issues in this. Of course, we can connect during my office hours and lab support hours, but this is an extra part which I want you guys to be to practice on your own in your own system. And regarding the implementation of the functions over here in our original file, um, let's just see and try running that again, right? So we have our functions ready. While calling the functions, I need to call them, right? So average seems to be working fine. Find largest index. I'll just pass the books array inside that. Okay, replace 0 with largest number in the books array. So where would be having the index value, right? And the books array would be having the largest one. Replace, okay. And the largest here, replace 0 with the person who has the largest number of books. Person in where position. Okay, got it. Makes sense. So this is fine. This is fine. So ideally it should work now. So let's just see. It's showing undefined. Let's just try to understand like what went wrong. Right now, I'm not just showing you the implementation of the bar graph, but for this thing for sure, we are going to do and try it out. Just give me a moment. Okay. So let's just get back to our function over here. I'm saying that function to find not the average, but the find largest index. I'm creating a variable called large, and that I'm saying that okay, got it. So in the large, I want to assume that whatever element is present inside my books array is the largest one, right? So I'm just storing that particular value inside the large element. So this is the small error which we just made, and I think things should work fine now. Okay. Okay, let's just see, but what else we made a mistake. Large equal to books of 0, and in the large position, I'm just initializing with the value of 0, where I equal to 0 less than a dot length. Okay, I plus plus. If books of I greater than large, large equals to a of I, position this. Okay, same stuff, same stuff. And over here in our when we are calling the function, I'm saying that okay, where largest equals to books of where, and where who equals to names of where. Makes sense. Okay. Are we using the same error? Let me just check in my other code stuff which I'm using. Okay, ARR. Mm-hmm. Oh, just forgot one more thing. Just, of course, again, see, this is how we debug the code if it's not working, right? I just did in front of you guys that I'm seeing that, okay, the value was undefined earlier, right, over here. But what I forgot is to just return the function, return the value, which this function is returning, right? Because over here, when we're creating this function and passing the parameter, and when I'm calling the function over here, it should return some kind of value, and it's catching that value with the help of this variable and storing that value which the function is returning inside the variable called val, right? And now if I just save the file, of course I'm getting the output as the largest number of books owned is 95, and the Mark owns the most books, right? So this is how we were able to get the implementation of all the tasks which we performed into this recitation. Again, this thing is, I would strongly suggest you guys to just implement this stuff, to just implement the bar graph display of the books. Of course, let me know if you are stuck in this thing during my office hours or lab support hours. But other than that, I think we are done with most of the part for today's recitation. And let me just quickly see what else is left. I think, yeah, we are good to go. And make sure you work for your this week's assignment, and you guys have your exam coming up in second week of I think it's on November 15th, if I'm not wrong, over here. Yeah, it's November 15th. So hope you guys are preparing well for your upcoming exam. And I think yeah, we can just end this recitation and see you guys next week during my recitation 10, right? Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Thank you. And one more thing, I just forgot to give you the secret code for the attendance. So the secret code for the attendance of week 9, this recitation video is 805. I repeat, it's let me write it over here. It's 805. 805. That's it. Yep. So just make sure you mark your attendance after watching this recitation lecture, and see you guys next week. Thank you.